Good day, grade 4s. This is a video to help you with your test preparation for next week's language test. Listen carefully, go through the rules. You can pause at any stage and play again and go back and play again. Listen carefully. Right, first we're going to have a look at the hard and soft G sounds. Now, it is important to know that if we're talking about the soft G sound, the G is followed by either the letters E, I, or Y, and it sounds like a J. And if we're talking about a hard G sound, it's followed by any other letter, and it sounds like a G. It's important to listen to the word. So read the word to yourself and listen. If it sounds like a J, it's a soft G sound. If it sounds like a G, it's a hard G sound. Once again, a G is a hard G sound like goat, and a J is a soft G sound like giraffe. Next, we're going to have a look at the singular and plural. If you have a look at the word singular, singular sounds like single. And if you're single, it means that you are only one. You do not have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. So singular is single, only one. Plural means more than one. So it's a group. Then it's important to always know your different rules for plurals. You have to study these rules. The first rule we have is that we add an S to form the plural for most of your nouns. For instance, dog becomes dogs, apple, apples. Our second rule is we add ES to nouns that end in the following sounds: CH, SH, Z, X, or S. There you add ES. For instance, church becomes churches, bush, bushes, quiz, quizzes, fox, foxes, and bus, buses. Third rule for plurals: for nouns that end in a Y, but with a consonant before the Y, we change the Y to an I and then we add ES. For instance, pony. Pony has an N before the Y. N is a consonant. Pony becomes ponies. Baby. B is a consonant before the Y. Baby becomes babies. Then the fourth rule: for nouns that end in a Y with a vowel before the Y, we just add an S. For instance, turkey. E is a vowel before that Y, so it's turkeys, just an S. Tray. A is a vowel before the Y. There we just add the S, trays. Rule 5, for nouns that end with an F or FE, we change the F or the FE to a V and then we add an ES. For instance, wolf ends with an F. We change that F to a V and add ES. Knife ends with FE. We change the FE to a V and add ES. Rule number 6. Some nouns change the spelling when they become plural. For instance, tooth becomes teeth and child becomes children. Rule number 7. Some nouns do not change at all. They do not have a plural form. For instance, sheep stays sheep and fish stays fish. Next, we're going to have a look at the personal pronouns. Remember that a pronoun stands in the place of a noun. If you have a look, you'll see that the personal pronouns are words like I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, me, you, him, her, it, us, you, and them. Remember, we use he for male, she for female, and we use it for animals or objects. Then if we have a look at the direct speech, this is also very important to know your punctuation rules, where you need to put in your different punctuation marks. When a sentence is written in the direct speech, it is the person's direct or own words. Remember, you must use quotation marks and you put everything that the person says in these quotation marks. Right, if we have a statement is just a simple sentence. If the speaker is in the front, we say, Mr. Henny says, for instance, with a comma. In Afrikaans, you use a colon, a double punt, but in English, we use a comma. Then whatever he says, I am thirsty, that you put in quotation marks. Remember that whatever is being said must start with a capital letter. This is a statement. That is why we end with a full stop. And then you close the quotation marks at the end of this sentence. Then if the speaker is at the back of this sentence, you start with whatever the speaker is saying, you put that in quotation marks. And with this statement, we end with a comma before we close the quotation marks. Remember, you end it off with a full stop. Right, if we're dealing with an exclamation, that's when something is shouted. If the speaker is in the front, for instance, the coach shouts, go team, go. Once again, after shouts, you have your comma, and then whatever the coach is shouting is in your quotation marks. Remember, that must also start with a capital letter, and remember your exclamation mark, and then you close your quotation marks. If the speaker is at the back, you start with your quotation marks. Remember, also start with a capital letter, your exclamation mark, close your quotation marks, and you end off the sentence with a full stop. Then the last example is a question. For instance, Mrs. Teresa asks, who knows the answer? Once again, if the speaker is in the front, you have a comma after asks. You start your sentence with a capital letter in your quotation marks, and you end it off with a question mark because it is a question that's being asked. If the question is in front and the speaker at the back, you also start with a capital letter, question mark, and you end off your sentence with a full stop. Next, we're going to have a look at the adverbs. Remember, an adverb tells you more about the verb. Now, we have different types of adverbs. We have the adverb of time, adverb of place, adverb of manner, and adverb of degree. Now, an adverb of time tells you when something is happening. Adverb of place tells you where something is happening. Adverb of manner tells you how something is happening. And adverb of degree, how much. Then if we have a look at the present continuous tense. The continuous tense means that something is happening. We're looking for the ing sound. Now the present continuous tense means that we need to use the verb to be for the present tense. The verb to be for the present tense, there's three of them: am, is, and are. Am we use for I, is for one person or thing, and are for more than one Then we add the verb with the ing sound. Then we're going to have a look at the articles. There's 3 articles, a, an, and the. A and an we use for anything. If you have a look there, a and an you can find in the word anything. An is used when a word starts with any one of the vowel sounds. Remember, it's a vowel sounds. So if it sounds as if it starts with a vowel, then you use an. The we use for specific things. Then we're going to look at parts of a sentence. We have 3 parts of a sentence: the subject, the verb, and the object. Now it's easiest to find the verb first. A verb is something you can do. Then you can find the subject of the sentence. You ask who or what with the verb, and then your answer will be the subject. Then you can find the object by asking the subject with the verb, and then you will get the answer, and that answer will be your object. Now if we're going to have a look at degrees of comparison, in Afrikaans we call that trappe van vergelyking. There are 3 different types of adjectives when we compare. Compare in Afrikaans as ons vergelyk. The first one is the positive adjective. That's when you do not compare it with anything. There's only one. Then we have the comparative adjective. There's only 2. So the one person is happy and the other one is happier. Then the superlative adjective, super. It's the best one. So the one goat is high, the next one is higher, but the middle one is the highest. Now for the degrees of comparison, it's always very important to know your different rules. The first rule is that you add an ER or EST to most 1 and 2 syllable words that end in a consonant. So if you have a look at old, older, and oldest. Remember, syllables is lettergrepe. Then rule number 2, we add just an R or a ST to words that end in an E. For instance, white becomes whiter and whitest. Rule number 3, when a word ends in a consonant with a Y, we drop the Y and we add IER and IEST. So for instance, heavy, we drop the Y and add IER, so it becomes heavier. The same with the superlative adjective. We drop the Y, add IEST, so it becomes heaviest. Rule number 4, when the word has 1 syllable and it ends in a vowel and a consonant, we double the last consonant and we add ER and EST. So 1 syllable, so that means it's a very short word. For instance, fat becomes fatter and fattest. Rule number 5, for long words, words with 2 or more syllables, we add more or most before the word. For instance, beautiful if you clap that word, beautiful, you'll hear there's 3 syllables. Beautiful. So then we have to say more beautiful and most beautiful. Then rule number 6, for irregular forms of degrees of comparison, there's not rules. So these you just have to study. For instance, good is not gooder and goodest. It's good, better, and best. Now the last thing we're going to have a look at is antonyms. Now antonyms, an antonym is a word with the opposite meaning. If you have a look at these few examples, you'll see the first one there is dirty and clean, cry and laugh, big and small, old and young, happy and sad, asleep and awake, funny and serious, bad and good, sweet and sour, day and night, noisy and quiet, boy and girl. Right, grade 4s. You need to study hard, know your rules, and know all your terminology. Now, what do I mean when I talk about the terminology? It means that if I ask you to fill in a pronoun, you must know what a pronoun is. Nobody's going to tell you what a pronoun is when you write this test. Good luck, study hard. You can do this. Goodbye.